Hi, everybody. We're going to start at 6 o'clock. I hope you can hear me. Tell me you can hear me. Oh, look at me. There I go. Look like I'm going to eat this microphone.
it's weird because it starts off as one thing and then it becomes something completely different.
Yeah, Pontypool's always famous for
Pontypool.
Fucking love Pontypool.
Still got that copy I got?
I don't know. I feel like I need to watch it again because I feel like I missed something the first time I watched it because it seemed very strange.
I love that you're wearing the hoodie, by the way.
Corn coffee.
Is it comfortable?
It
Nope.
no, it feels like the hugs Jonathan Davis never got.
Okay.
It's fucking great. It's so soft. It's absurd.
Yeah.
It's a celebration of corn coffee. But
That's not a thing that should be celebrated by anyone.
not really. Is this happening to all of our lips?
What?
Well,
The resin thing?
Yeah.
Is now
Oh,
even
do I have
out?
resin on my fucking mouth?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I need to clean this pipe.
Yeah, yeah, you do. How dare you?
At the
How
resin.
dare you hand me a sullied pipe?
You went Belgium, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was
It's
saying-
good night, I think.
Yeah.
Or one of those places.
Other
Door.
door.
Yeah.
I think it was Underdark.
Nice to see you.
See you.
you going by the other door later?
I don't know. I don't think so. I have to fucking finish the new episode of Ghoul School in the next 2 days. So I need to work on that
Wow,
tonight.
what happens in the next 2 days? Well, what happens?
Yeah, I need to release it by Halloween.
I
So I need to work on that some more tonight, but I also like kind of want to get up.
Kind of want to what?
Get up. I haven't been up in a while. I also like just cracked something on this short story I'm working on, and like I feel like if I don't do it as soon as you know what I mean, I get home tonight,
Mhm.
like I'll just completely lose momentum on it, and I'll never get done. I also really want to go tonight. But I also gotta do Ghoul School.
gotta try it tonight. I'm getting in the car at 8 in the morning with Alex Mandelberg to drive up to Northern California for like
Is this something you elect to do by choice?
yeah, for like a casino gig or some shit.
Lunacy. 8 hours in the car with Mandelberg?
I know what I'm getting. He's one of my good friends. I know what I'm getting into.
I mean, I love Mandelberg. I do.
No, I know.
But the list of people I can be in a car with for more than 2 hours is extremely short.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll find the limits of the things that he's an expert in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't lean on that too hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Well, what if I
like-
wanted to follow it?
That would be very upsetting. It's the stability for that entire. That is an anchor shelf.
Cool.
Because it's anchored to that. If you're gonna smoke, good pork was supposed to start at 6.
Oh, yeah.
But you can go smoke.
Do I have time?
Yeah.
I only have 3 minutes. I don't want to.
Well,
Here,
I'll just tell people we're gonna go.
Okay. I just saw the lighthouse, and now I'm just gonna smoke a million cigarettes.
Oh, how was that?
Oh, I fucking loved it.
It looks wild.
Yeah.
I really liked The Witch, so I wanted to see that.
Yeah. Oh man. This.
Hey, we're starting in a few minutes.
Like.
Well, it's because the witch was trash.
No, The Witch is amazing.
No, The Witch was great.
The Witch is so amazing.
The Witch
I know
was-
that's gonna be your first veto on the list, but
No, it's not.
okay.
No, we're gonna go smoke this cigarette. And then
The Witch is incredible.
all right.
But it's like a very simple, straightforward story compared to The Lighthouse.
Oh yeah, Lighthouse looked fucking
Oh,
weird.
it is. It's real. It's real film school.
Mhm.
sweet back patch.
Pretty great.
I'm in love with it.
Yeah, undress for the people.
Well,
Andy, you need water.
yes, I do. Thank you.
Well, hey man, I gotta get going now. Oh, okay, cool. All right, well then, yeah, man, I'll talk to you later.
Are we flanking him?
I
Hard
guess.
bus?
Might as well.
I don't have shit on my face, do I?
No.
Yep, I had some of that fucking resin like right there. I don't know how I got it on my fucking cheek though.
Who knows?
Yeah, God, now it's just called and texted me. It was like slight change of plans because of the fires. We're gonna have to leave at like 6
Yeah,
now
dude.
to get around them.
That's the thing, man, is that Taylor works at the Getty, so she's not going into work all week. So, like, my time to work on stuff is like,
Oh.
Oh, okay.
which is great. I love having her at home. You know what I mean? But oh, is that mine? Thank you.
And there are now tables.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Right?
I feel like I'm strapping into a cockpit here.
I should have shaved today.
You really should have. I didn't want to say anything.
I'm just looking at myself and
Yeah.
Yeah, I should probably
finding all of my
Yeah.
problem areas.
I should pull up the chat so you can see what people are talking about.
Yep. Hey, there's the Vince Gilligan joke.
Why do I have my keys in my pocket?
Wait, who's Aaron Paul? You?
Who is Aaron Paul?
No, I mean, like, who are they referencing when they say Aaron Paul looks different? Are they just talking about Aaron
Oh,
Paul on the
okay,
show, or are they
so
saying one of us is Aaron Paul?
Let me explain. This morning, I posted that we were going to be doing live streams tonight. And I just listed the topics and the times, and because I was in a rush. And someone left a comment and said, "Can you tell us who the guests are so we can decide if we want to watch?" It's like, can I tell you who the guests are so you can decide if you want to watch the network of mine that you subscribe to? So I said the guests for this episode were Ariana Grande and Aaron Paul.
Oh.
And that the next episode, the guests were former minor league baseball star Michael Jordan and former Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton.
Oh, gotcha.
Put your headphones on, Andy. You're probably sitting on them. Am I right? Are
No.
they literally on the back of your
On
chair?
the back of the chair. I'm sitting against them.
Right.
Not on. Physics,
Wow.
man.
This is nice, right? See,
Yeah,
now
okay, now
I
it's-
can't decide if I want to get rid of these polls because it is kind of nice to be able to just like you're doing, like just fucking.
Yeah, just it's chat.
It's almost like a cigarette.
Get rid of the
Yeah.
polls?
Here, we can
That's a
move this in.
controversial...
This. Is that good?
Because we have to talk. These microphones are really they're sensitive to the things said in front of them,
Right
so
on.
they're designed to not pick up a ton of
Directional.
room noise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, really
Yeah.
quick, I want to
Oh no. Oh no. What's happening?
plug my friend's art.
Oh, please do. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. This is this is good.
Off to a good start.
Yeah. This is good.
Hey, if you like this back patch, you can get it from Winslow Domain. Follow him on Instagram at Calculations. I'm just in love with this back patch. There you go.
Who do I send that invoice to? We normally do. It's normally like a $25 CPM kind
Oh,
of
really?
thing. Yeah.
Shit. I'll just buy you some Chili Johns.
Chili John's is fine. It's not the best chili on Burbank Boulevard. That would be Coral Cafe.
Nah, man.
Audible groan from the room.
Nah, man.
All right. Is that too big?
5 best chilies in Burbank. Go.
I don't have to. Okay. All right. Should we get started?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose.
Why not?
We don't really need a timer. Just subtract 4 minutes. All right. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Listcast. I'm your host, Adam Todd Brown. This is a competitive list building podcast. It's not a contest. It's just a
I was
podcast.
about to say, what did I get into here?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a competitive element to it, so it's
it is competitive.
It's a contest, really,
we have a winner at the end of the night. They
Is
can
it-
take a trophy with them if they'd prefer.
Because this is kind of the Halloween themed one, does that mean only like one of us is getting out of here alive? Is that the kind of competition we're into?
Someone's dying.
I call
Okay.
dibs on not getting out of here alive.
Yeah, that
Fine.
makes it easier.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
I'm murdering Andy on this episode.
I'll give you a hand with that.
Hey, that was Andy Sell, by the way. Everyone knows Andy Sell. He's been on Listcast a bunch of time, but first time guest Thomas Young.
Hey.
Hello.
Recently we were on an episode of Bleak and Review together.
Yes, we were. Yeah, you were guest hosting?
I guest hosted an episode of Bleak and Review
Mm-hmm.
with you and the guest of the next episode. One of the guests of the next episode we're live streaming, Alex Kane.
Yeah.
So go check that out. Tell the people a little about yourself.
I am a comic. I also make short films, and I debate a lot about horror movies with my friends like this guy.
Very nice. Andy, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Andy!
No, we're not doing that. That's
Yeah.
not. This is a different show.
Travis
No
Clark
one's even-
joining us by phone.
No one's. Don't do this to me right now. I can't handle it.
How have you been, Andy?
I've been pretty good. I saw The Lighthouse today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Is that as bizarre as it looks?
it's very bizarre. Yes, it's wonderful. It's
Nice.
like
Seems like it's going to be weird, yeah.
my review of it, my description of it, if it's easier to understand for people, is it's like if a cursed John Huston Lovecraft pastiche crashed into the rocky cliffs of a Guy Madden adaptation of the Shut Up Little Man tapes, and then the wreckage was haunted by the ghost of Carl Theodore Dreyer.
Someone's film school degree finally paid off in the
Yeah.
audience right now.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, that was a whole lot.
But it's great, and I love it, and I'm going to watch it several more times.
Okay. Clearly, we're talking about the best horror movies of the last 5 years
Yeah.
on this episode of Listcast. We haven't done a Listcast in a while. It's a Patreon-only show. I'll probably put this one out for free just so people know. So people know that we're still doing this podcast. We got
Yeah,
like
because
a-
if you don't tell them, how else are they going
I-
to
yeah,
know? Were
I
they
don't- I mean,
supposed
they
to
could-
just guess?
If you're cool enough, you'll know.
They could subscribe on patreon.com/unpops, but if you're listening to this, you already do probably. So whatever. But I'm going to go through the rules quick for anyone listening for the first time or first-time guests. We each brought 5 picks for the best horror movie of the last 5 years. And we're going to go around the room one at a time and pick, explain why we picked each one, why we think it belongs on a list of the best 5 horror movies of the last 5 years. Once we go through our picks, though, that'll take us to 15, and that's entirely too many. So then we take turns cutting 2 from the list each. You don't have to cut your own. Most people don't. You can be strategic about it.
Mm.
You can go with your heart and cut what really deserves to be cut. It's any strategy is a strategy. And after we do that, God damn it, I forgot to pick the person who does the save.
Oh yeah.
Someone from the audience gets to do the save one of our cuts, which then takes us to a list of 10. Then we put up a poll and they vote, and who's ever pick is number one wins. You get a fucking thumbs up trophy if you want it.
Yeah.
I think one person has taken it so far. That was Eric Barnes. Shout out to him. What should we have people comment in order to do the save?
First person to guess what I shaved my beard down to a mustache for my Halloween costume.
One word.
So just what's
One
your
word.
Halloween
What was my
costume?
Halloween costume at a party on Saturday last minute?
Okay, so what Andy just said was comment the word horror to do the save, and I put that in the comments to make it a little bit quicker.
Horror.
Hurrah! Come on. No one?
No, they
Hey.
didn't do all caps.
The notorious
Oh, hey.
BLT. He did
Career.
all caps also. Good job. So
I
the
didn't know horror
notorious
had an eye in it. Nice.
So the notorious BLT is doing the save. Who came in second? I didn't even see. Jennifer Fendelander is number 2 on the backup, drug-free, so put the crack up. If the notorious BLT dies at some point during this episode, which is perfectly possible, this is about horror movies after all, then Jennifer Fendelander gets to do our save. So them's the rules. Should we
Cool.
get into it?
Yep.
Why not?
Who wants to go first?
I vote for Thomas.
I don't know.
I think Andy should, just because when the person in the middle goes first, we
Yeah,
inevitably
I-
end up going out of
I
order.
gotcha.
I concede first blood to Andy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, like anyone who's listened to me on a Listcast before knows, I have a very complex relationship with Listcast and the rules of it. And it's sort of like Bernie Sanders' relationship with the Democratic Party. I will go along with it because it's the quickest way to get my message out. But I am also interested in dismantling its corrupt machinery.
Sure. Sure. You mean Listcast?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's perfectly understandable.
That's
I mean,
fair.
it's really just
Yeah.
because of my own indecisiveness.
I'm a real
honestly.
tyrant. I get it.
I want you to watch all these movies. You know, I like to shout out the underdogs and the movies people maybe don't know about.
Oh, sounds like someone's explaining why they're not going to win.
Oh, I'm definitely not going to win.
Oh,
and
okay,
I'm
cool.
I've never won one. I'm always comfortable with that.
That's not true.
That's not the spirit of why I'm here.
okay.
I'm not here to win. I'm not in for a thumbs up trophy. I'm here to let you, the people, know that there are horror movies outside of the Conjuring universe.
Would you
for to
like to
watch.
name one?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna go with Terrified. Why not? Fuck it, Terrified.
Terrified. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, it's a 2017 Argentinian film.
You can find it on Shudder under the title Aterados. I believe?
Aterados. Yeah,
What's that mean?
I believe it means the terrified ones,
Oh, okay. So I did have reason to ask. Anyway, go on.
or just terrified as it applies to a group. Sorry.
Why'd you pick Terrified?
It's just a breath of fresh air. It's a haunted house movie that kind of pushes the boundaries and perimeters of what we know as the tropes for haunted house films. It's got like an anthological quality to it, which I always like. There's a rich ensemble of characters, and it stays out of church for the most part. It's got its own set of rules, and it's very good about letting you know what they are without too much exposition. It has one of the craziest opening sequences.
Oh, yes.
It's just startling, and there's just a lot of really cool horror beats and gags in it that I really love, and it manages to kind of give all these characters their own motives and their own unique personalities while it's doing all of these different things. And I think it's an undersung gem.
Yeah, that's probably the one knock it will have against it in terms of just winning
Yeah.
this episode is
Yeah.
I think a lot of people haven't
Again,
seen it.
I am here to make friends. This is not about winning.
I looked at Andy's list earlier and was just like, oh man, now I know I'm gonna butt heads because I'm gonna feel all lame because his are all like the
Yeah, if you're
oh,
worried
shit,
about
haven't
not
seen that
winning,
one.
you might want to call a few audibles near the end of your list there,
Well, it's
Andy.
again, it's like I let you guys take the ones that would probably truly be on my list so that they can just have their own airtime and I don't have to talk about them.
That makes sense. But yeah, if you have Shudder, you can watch Terrified or Atarados at any time.
Yeah.
It's a Shudder exclusive at this point, I think. And that's how you know a lot of people haven't seen it. Because we're like, who has Shudder? I have Shudder. You have Shudder.
Yeah.
You have Shudder?
Not yet.
Oh,
See?
I've been wanting
come
to get.
on.
I know you've told this is like the millionth time you've been like.
If there's
hey.
one thing I can say to everyone watching this, it's get a Shudder subscription. Right now they're doing a sale too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're doing a sale. It's like 31% off for the month of October. Like if you do it now before Halloween, if you get a subscription, you're paying like a crazy amount less than you normally would.
Yeah. It's worth it.
It's worth.
If you like horror movies, Shudder is 100% worth it.
It's yeah.
It's got some of the best horror movies out right now are on
Yeah,
Shudder.
they're starting to really.
Haunt.
Oh
Well,
yeah, Haunt is so.
I don't know if we
terrific.
were going to bring that one up, but
We might. I don't know.
yeah, there's a lot of great. Shudder's great.
Yeah, Shudder's wonderful.
All right.
It's the only thing keeping me alive right now.
Oh, wow.
It goes in
Shudder
order of
and
importance. My partner, our cat, and then Shudder, and then that's it. Everything else is doing me wrong.
Check out Podcast Supernova with me and Andy Sell and Travis Clark, I guess, on the Unpops Network. Me and Travis
Look,
like
that
it.
show was going great until Syphilis Bear came along, and
Syphilis bear, a syphilis bear. We can both do it.
no, we can't.
It's an easy voice to sing.
I'm not doing it.
A syphilis bear. Hey, Thomas Young, what's your
Yes,
first
sir.
pick?
Oh, first pick. Yeah, this is where we'll take the. Do you want me to start with 5 or do you want me to start with my true first pick?
You can go in whatever order you want.
I'll have to throw out right now, or not throw out, but I'll put out there for consideration. It Follows. It Follows was just it's. I like it when it actually does thoroughly creep me out the first time I watch it because I'm sitting there by myself and I'm like, oh. This is like what like when you slowly piece together the premise of that movie, you're like, oh, that sucks. Oh, that could literally happen if that were a real thing.
Right.
Yeah. So the whole metaphor of it, yeah, creeped me out. And it was the whole movie seemed to follow a weird kind of logic of its own. You never really knew when or where it took place.
Yeah.
And that was interesting to me. The whole thing just kind of felt like an actual bad dream where you're like, I can't really explain that aspect of the movie, but it made sense for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of that filmmaker's whole deal in a lot of ways. I mean, I still haven't seen Under the Silver Lake, but Myth of the American Sleepover is in a lot of ways just It Follows without a horror story. you know,
Really?
like without a monster. Yeah, and it's, I mean, I love Myth of the American Sleepover and I love It Follows. It Follows is like, I think the closest thing to a modern day Halloween that we have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, It Follows is great.
Yeah.
It's my favorite in that sort of genre of horror movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The ones you have to think about.
It's so well shot. The performances are great. The supernatural threat
Yeah,
has rules
I mean,
that
and
it
not,
obeys.
not to
like-
mention the fact that it's hard to make like a movie with like a supernatural element be truly convincing, like
Mhm,
like
mhm.
really frightening on a deep level. And I think that movie does it like successfully because the whole idea of it is such,
Yeah.
you know, the whole metaphor of like STDs or whatever is like, yeah, it works for anybody.
Yeah,
basically.
and it's still very grounded because all of the exposition is very metered and sparse, and it's kind of like most of its power set or whatever is treated as implication.
It doesn't hit you on the head with the
Yeah,
story.
yeah. Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's just beautifully paced, wonderfully shot. Like everything about it is.
And that ending sequence in
tier.
the pool and everything
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, that's a good pick. My first pick, looking at my list, I'm probably not going to win either.
I don't know, man. You got some.
I got some. There's
get
some
some heavy
bangers
hitters
on
on
this
this for
list.
sure,
Don't get me
yeah.
wrong. My first one, just because I talk about this movie every fucking time
Dude,
the
so
opportunity
I watched
to
it
talk
the
about
other night.
horror movies comes up. Hush.
Yeah, well, and speaking of the idea too that It Follows is the closest thing to Halloween that we have. Hush is the other closest thing to
Yeah.
Halloween that we have. It's when the rumors were going around that Mike Flanagan was going to direct or was being asked to direct the new Halloween. There was just a rumor. And he kind of came out and was like, "No, I already did what I would have done with a Halloween
Yeah.
movie, and it's called Hush." And he's right; it's so good.
It's
Yeah.
brilliant. And I love that, speaking of parallels to Halloween, I swear the killer wears a Ryan Gosling mask.
yeah,
You know what?
In that
I
movie.
watched
Yes,
it just the
yeah.
other night, and I thought that too, because I was like, that face looks familiar. And
Yeah.
now that you say Ryan Gosling, I'm like, that mother.
It looks like
What?
fucking
Yeah,
Ryan
it's
Gosling.
also Ryan Gosling wears a mask in that scene in
and
Driven?
Drive.
Drive?
Yeah,
Sorry, Driven.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That actually was kind of a creepy scene.
and it's so I always kind of when I think of Hush, there's always a moment where I'm like, wait, is that Ryan Gosling in that? No,
Yeah.
no. It's
How do you guys think it put? Because the first time I saw Hush, I actually I did not care for it. Like really,
Really?
When I read the premise, I was like, okay, this ought to be like a cool kind of cat and mouse game. Then I watched it again just recently, and I do like it a lot more than I initially thought that I did. But I think what bugged me about it was the killer in it. I don't know what it was like.
Oh,
Really?
see, I don't.
The way the decisions that he makes and the way he toys with,
I mean, he was a bad dude.
no. I'm saying
you're not supposed to
He's
like
canceled,
him, right?
that's for
like,
sure.
He's the bad guy. Like
no.
you're not
You
rooting
no.
for him.
I
No,
dragged
I-
him on Twitter.
You're not trying to
hard.
relate.
what
to
I'm
him.
saying is the creepiness of him somehow when he took the mask off and started talking to her, and then when
I
he
love that.
when he
That's-
comes when he
see,
comes into the house. No, it was interesting, but when he came into the whole time, I was like, you could have just killed her right there. I don't think he would have.
Well, he
I don't know.
You're
maybe he
saying
got-
you would have just killed her
The whole,
Yeah.
because you're a
conceit,
murderer.
the whole conceit of the movie is just like, oh, he just didn't get her when he had a clear shot, and then he spends the rest of the time just fucking around with her, and it's like, I don't know if I buy it. It's like the movie The Strangers. It's creepy up until a certain point
But
when you're
some-
like, this would have ended a while ago.
I think the idea is that them toying with them is part of it. They're not just there to.
No, I mean, I
rack
get
up
that
numbers.
he's just an evil son of a bitch, but it was just kind of like it took me out of the movie when I was like, well, you could have gotten her and not gotten a hammer in your
What I
know that's a crazy thing to be taken out of the movie
Yeah,
with.
see the thing about him taking his mask off, which I didn't want to bring that up because I don't want to spoil the movie, but that's my favorite fucking
Yeah.
scene
Mm-hmm. Same
where
here.
she holds up a
Queen's
si-
right there at the window. And,
Well, not
yeah.
just that, but she holds up a sign and says something like "I haven't seen your face," and she's like
Yeah,
implying
yeah,
that you can
yeah.
just leave and this will be fine.
Yeah.
In one, he pulls the fucking Ryan Gosling mask off immediately, and then just looks like a normal
He just
dude.
looks like a
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a
Yeah.
grotesque fucking
That is-
Michael
the
Myers.
one
He's
part-
just a dude.
The one part I did find his character really interesting when he killed the big neighbor dude
Oh,
who
yeah,
killed
yeah.
big broy jockey looking kind of strong dude, and when he's just sitting on the body and he's just like, yeah, there's no way I would have won that fight like that.
Yeah.
That was to me, I'm like, okay, I
That's
get
the
it.
thing. He was such a normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think that as he starts to realize the situation has gotten a little out of his control, he does adapt and starts to become more like, all right, I got to just do this. But he's like you see him trying to figure out how he's going to pull that off too.
Right.
Whereas like something like The Strangers just draws out. The,
Yeah,
like, I mean,
that's
it
a
gets
creepy
little
movie,
ridiculous.
but yeah, it gets to
Yeah.
a point where you're like, this would have probably ended
Yeah.
a while
Whereas
ago.
I think Hush, better than Strangers, and even to an extent better than Your Next, kind of manages to like put in some circumstance stuff plotting wise to be like, okay, well it's not unbelievable that this hasn't just been done already, you know, but yeah, no,
Hush.
I love it.
Fucking
It is
love it.
it is creepy. I will say.
I also just love that like died fighting.
Yeah.
yeah. She just
That's so
Yeah.
great.
Andy, what's your next pick?
Oh man, I don't like any of these anymore. Gosh. Are we really at me again? We are. I'm gonna go with I'm Not a Serial Killer next. That's gonna be my next one.
I don't know if I remember this.
Is this another Shudder film?
No, so this was on Netflix. It's not anymore, which bums me out because I would really love to watch it again. But
Okay, no, yeah, I watched it.
This movie was a real surprise for me. It's from 2015, maybe 2016.
I'm trying to think
Can't
if I've
remember.
even seen this one.
But it was shot in Minnesota, and it's a like dual production, really low budget independent movie based on a series of young adult novels. But boy, does this movie defy the expectations you think of or that you formulate when you hear something like that. It is very clearly very low budget. It is very clearly, obviously, shot in Minnesota. Like it's very quiet in a lot of ways. It's very small, but it's about this kid who is a psychopath and is he's a psychopath doing work at becoming better. And sort of like how Dexter has that sort of thing where he acknowledges that he has this thing and like he was trained whatever. This is like that without he's not a serial killer, as he says.
Yeah, maybe I haven't.
Title of the movie
Maybe
is.
I haven't seen this because I think I'm thinking of You Might Be the Killer, which is
I think that's what you're thinking
That's
of.
garbage.
A lot of people think of that when I say this. And
I
have to be like,
hated
no,
You
no, no,
Might
I
Be the
think I
Killer.
saw
It's a different movie.
part of this, but I didn't get to finish it. For
It's
whatever
just so
reason.
great. It's the character work is wonderful in it. The performances are terrific, and then by implication, there is this crazy element to the plot where this psychopath who's trying to not be a violent psychopath comes up against an otherworldly threat in the form of Christopher Lloyd, who gives one of the best performances of his career, I think.
Well, now I want to
in
watch
this
it.
movie.
Well, yeah, I didn't know he was in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I'm game
kinda
for
changes
that,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's again, this is not gonna win me anything on this show. But God, you need to track this movie down. It's so great, and it never goes where you expect it to.
Yeah. I'll check it out. Tom, what's your next pick?
Oh, geez, what do I want to put out next? I'll go with It Chapter 1 next.
Nice.
That one, I enjoyed that movie so much more than I thought I would or wanted to. I'm of that generation where the original the TV, the two-parter thing, we all grew up with that, and it's not a great movie, but then I read the book, and the book was so kind of dear to me that I was like, they say they're gonna do an R-rated version, they say they're gonna do that, and then I was like, oh, okay, you didn't pull any punches there. It's not as scary as I feel like it could be.
That's my main gripe. With
Yeah,
it.
it's not a horror
scary.
movie.
But
It forgets
but
to
it-
be a horror movie.
it has that it captures the story as well as anything that's been done yet, because it is a
It could just
complicated-
be that it isn't that much of a horror story.
Oh, it is.
It
The
is.
book is one of the weirdest, most twisted and disturbing
Yeah.
things I've ever
suppose.
read. The book goes to some dark,
Yeah.
weird places, some of which you can't legally do in a film.
Yeah, some of which
Oh, yeah.
it's like absolutely they shouldn't have that in there.
Yeah, yeah. It's a complicated, weird book, and I just thought that movie did a pretty good job. And I thought it was the parts that were scary were fucking creepy. Like that.
It looks amazing.
Oh, it looks great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I just haven't been crazy about either of the
I don't
movies.
I don't think the best version of that story has been told yet. I think
I hope you're right.
the book is flawed. I think the miniseries is flawed, and I think that these new movies are really flawed as well. I like Chapter 1 much better. It's more serviceable.
It's a stronger movie.
It's a stronger movie. Yeah,
The
and
pacing of it is like perfect.
I think that has a lot to do with
Yeah.
the fact that Cary Fukunaga developed it before Andy Muschietti came on.
Yep.
And that Gary Doberman didn't really get to mainline the script.
I just remember watching that first season of True Detective and be like, "Oh my God, he's doing it next. This is going to be incredible." And then
Yeah.
then it fell.
he
Then
left,
he
yeah.
left. I was like, damn it, here we go.
It's I don't know. There's a lot of it that works for me. I think it really works as a coming of age story.
Mhm.
I really don't like some of the character stuff they took away from Mike and Stan.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't like that they kind of damseled Beverly towards the end. I mean, I get what it was for, but I just don't like that they took away the magic element from it. Like as a there was no silver with a slingshot. There was no, it was just like we're gonna gang
Yeah.
up on him and beat it with baseball bats. But the kids were great. The music's good. Like it's horror beats don't work for me. It's kind of a recycled thing over and over again, and which is sad because Bill Skarsgård is great.
I thought he was pretty creepy.
Yeah, he's amazing. in it.
He's doing a great job. It's just that they don't know what to do with him in the film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. Chapter I mean, obviously,
But also
I do,
that it's worth saying that's not really the popular take on it. Like
no,
most
I know.
people
yeah,
love.
No, yeah, most people love
Oh,
it.
the first one I like a lot more than the second one.
Yeah, the
There's
first
not-
one's definitely
fucking
but
disaster.
the thing is, in the first one, there's a lot of subtle things that go on in the background of that movie that
Mhm.
were what creeped me
Mhm.
out. Were the parts that really got to me. It wasn't like the clown popping out. It was when you like watch the movie the third time and you're like, oh, he's been standing right there
Yeah.
in the background the whole fucking
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That to me is like when it's like the flash frames in The Exorcist. It's like the really
yeah.
weird subtle stuff in that movie that creeps me out and gets under my skin the most.
Yeah, and it's a movie I've had on while I've been doing other things a few times, and it's a
yeah.
movie I've watched a few times. I saw it, I think, 3 times in the theater, maybe,
Mhm.
or maybe just twice. But like, it's perfectly fine. It has a lot of problems. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just want someone to make a movie of Summer of Night already. It's basically if the book It was just the kids stuff, the
Yeah.
kids fighting monsters stuff.
Mm-hmm.
By Dan Simmons. It's like one of my favorite horror novels ever, and it's sorry.
My next pick. This is kind of a combo of my last pick and Tom's last pick. I'm gonna go with Gerald's Game.
So your first two, right out the gate, you're coming with double barrels of Flanagan.
Double barrel Flanagan Netflix only movies.
Oh wow, yeah.
But the thing about Gerald's Game, it's also a Stephen King adaptation. Came out the same year as It Chapter 1.
Yeah.
And I got the receipts. You can check my Twitter. I tweeted back then, the best Stephen King adaptation this year is Gerald's Game. It was so fucking good.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
And there is a scene in that movie that I think I can't watch that movie more than once or twice. There's the scene where she escapes from the bed.
Oh yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, that's tough to watch.
And oh my God, it's just I really liked that fucking movie. I think
great.
it's one of Mike Flanagan. It's one of my favorite Mike Flanagan
I mean,
movies.
I'm
It's
a
one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations.
I'm a Flanistan for sure.
Is it
Stan
bad that
again.
my reaction when he has the heart attack at the beginning that I just fucking laughed? I was like, of course.
Movie heart attacks are almost
course.
always funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the only good part of Vice was every time Dick Cheney had a heart attack.
yeah.
The only good part of the world is every time Dick Cheney had a heart attack.
But yeah, Gerald's Game. It's very similar to my last pick, but that's all.
Yeah, I just think that's a bold move. Just 2 Mike Flanagan movies.
I got room. This is a marathon, not track meet.
Hey, that's fine.
Andy, what's your next pick?
Oh, golly. I'm going to say it's a tough call between Cam and Revenge. I'm going to have to go with Cam. I'm putting Cam on there. Fuck it.
Shout out to Revenge, though.
Yeah, Revenge is great, but I think as a horror and it's dumb to be like, 2, feminist horror movies, which is better, the one that recontextualizes sex work through the lens of horror, or the one that recontextualizes the rape revenge movie through the feminist lens. And I'm going to have to go with the one that works as a horror movie a little bit better, and that's Cam. But definitely see Revenge.
Cam just feels more like a horror movie
Yeah,
to me than Revenge. Like, Revenge feels like a revenge movie.
Yeah,
For
it
some
is.
reason.
Well, it's like when you talk about, do we consider Last House on the Left a horror movie? Because if you do, then what does that say about I Spit on Your Grave? And
Yeah. Anyway, Cam.
yeah, Cam is Cam's great. I don't know what else to say about it. It's
It was such a surprise.
It
I
really
haven't
is.
heard anything about it, and then
Yeah.
it was just on Netflix, and it's so good.
yeah. I wanted to
It's
see
a
it
weird fucking movie.
at AFI when it played AFI Fest, and I did end up seeing In Fabric that year, and I loved In Fabric, but then and I was like, oh, In Fabric might be my favorite horror movie of the year or whatever, and then Cam came on Netflix, and I was like, nope, wait, this is it.
Yeah.
It treats sex workers like people, because go figure, they are.
Weird.
And it like really gets into that world without it feeling like it's an expose, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And it has a supernatural element to it that is inarguable, as it gets to a point where you're like, wait, is this somebody just fucking with her, or is this like really a thing? And you're like, oh my god, it is. But it feels like it has its own rules, but it doesn't need to tell you what they are.
Yeah.
And it's just confident enough with its
Not heavy-handed on the exposition.
no, and it deals like with, the technological cyber horror stuff too, in a very like relatable way, but by turning it into a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good pick.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure I remembered everything in this film. This is the one, the cam girl, and
Yeah.
somebody basically kind of steals her
identity, and then
Yeah, that movie was, it was an uncomfortable movie.
it's a very uncomfortable
Yeah.
movie. It's one of those movies that doesn't feel very cinematic necessarily
No.
while you're
Yeah.
watching
It feels like a Netflix movie.
but it also like in a way that's kind of what Texas Chainsaw did,
Yeah.
It's sort of what Night of the Living Dead did, in that like very like boots on the ground way of looking at things. But I think it still manages to do it while keeping an eye for interesting visual details.
Is that what I means? Eye for interesting detail. Oh,
I
Thomas
guess I
Young,
didn't
what's your
need to
next
say
pick?
visual.
I might have to go swing for the fences on the next pick. I say Hereditary. This is the scariest damn movie I have seen in quite some time. I watched that by myself while homesick from work one day in a dark room, and I was just thoroughly creeped out. That movie, not only did the scare, like the horror elements of it, the suspense of it, everything worked for me, but it also just it got under my skin and friggin' upset me in several ways.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys have.
Yeah.
If you've seen it, you know which scenes I'm talking about. But and then when it got where it was going, the end, like, I don't know, it felt kind of out of nowhere. But like when I really thought about it, I'm like, oh no, they've set everything up here. Like this is the ending you should have seen coming. But I don't know. It really creeped me out. I made a point to see it because they said it was the same producers who had done The Witch, which that's also on my list.
It's A24.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's the same studio. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, and they were like, this is Hereditary. This is this director's it was his first feature, right? Ari Aster?
Yeah, it's his first feature.
And yeah, the look of just the first opening shot of the movie is is weird and off-putting. And right from the get-go, I was like, okay, it's gonna take a lot of left turns, but let's see where it goes. And it creeped me out a lot.
Yeah, I need to watch Hereditary again.
It took me 4 times, I think, of watching it to finally come around and make peace with how I feel about it.
Yeah.
What? How do you feel?
Oh, I was very frustrated and disappointed with it.
Really?
The first 2 times I saw it, and then the first time the power went out at the theater I was seeing it at.
Oh,
opening
wow.
night,
Well,
so I
that
had
is
to leave.
disappointing.
At the towards the end, the power went out, and so I didn't get to see the end. And I was kind of like really eager, so I was like, I don't know if it's going where I think it's going. It's going to be great. And then I saw it the next day. I finished it. I went to another theater and watched the entire thing again. So it was like I went through double the amount of tension that you go through watching it the first time, and it was held over from the night before.
Yeah.
Like, so I was just like tense the entire time. And then the payoff, I was like, I'm underwhelmed. And then I watched it again and was like, I still have problems with it, but you know, it's not bad. And then I watched it a fourth time and was like, no, this is fine. I really like it. It's not perfect. It lets plotting and themes.
I liked everything up until the end. I didn't like the end.
Yeah, I like the end a lot more now than I used to.
I see the end to me, like when it gets to that final, like running all through the house, I was genuinely like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And then when it got there, I was like, oh, okay. Like, it doesn't mean I'm not thoroughly creeped out by everything that got me.
Yeah, it has a baffling perspective shift, basically.
Yeah.
That
it really does.
That doesn't. It's not a clean shift, and it's kind of it's sort of a pointless shift, but it also it's in the service of being a like funhouse ride by that point, and I can accept that from it.
Yeah.
And I do think it, like, I don't know that I personally would put it on a top 5 best of, but I definitely can see the argument made for that and would like put it on like a top 10 most important of the last 5 years, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say best of simply out of the fact that it did just creep me. So many things about that movie just got to me, and
yeah, it'll do that.
From the visuals down to freaking Toni Collette's performance.
Yeah, she's great in it.
Because and the thing too, just the seeing a family just slowly just disintegrate like that. That gets to me. I mean, I'm from a very large and from a very close family. Seeing that kind of story unfold was just so unsettling. And yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. I feel like it's gonna do well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
My next pick probably will not. This is a relatively obscure movie,
I like this pick.
I think, but one of my favorite horror movie premises in a long fucking time. That is The Black Coat's Daughter.
Yeah, AKA February, I think was the original title of it.
Yeah. Emma Roberts is in it, I believe. Is that Emma Roberts?
Well, yes, but also, why can't I remember her name? Sally Draper, Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Sure. Yeah. I don't remember her name, but
Yeah,
I fucking
I feel
love
bad.
Emma Roberts. But Black Coat's Daughter, basically, it's kind of a breakup movie. It's
Well,
it's about what happens if you find yourself possessed by a demon and they exorcise that demon, and guys, you miss him a little bit. Maybe want him back. That is basically the premise of The Black Coat's Daughter. It is a fun goddamn movie. Not fun. Fun is a weird way to put it.
That's a way to put it, I guess.
It's a dark movie. It's kind of a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
It's not terrifying.
No, but it has some terrifying stuff in it and terrifying implications. And
Yeah.
there is one scene that is like really like
Yeah.
fucking like, ooh, what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I'm glad you took it because I had a really hard time trying to decide between whether I would put that or I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House on the list.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're both by Osgood Perkins.
Yeah.
And they're both from the same, they're both from the last 5 years. And I mean, I lean a little more towards I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, I think. But Black Coat's Daughter actually might work. I mean, it works better as a horror movie.
Yeah.
Than I Am the Pretty Thing is more of like a Shirley Jackson kind of
yeah, it's more of a
meditation.
like a ghost story kind of thing.
But yeah, Black Coat's Daughter is so good. I'm excited for his next one too, Gretel and Hansel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got that coming out. I think he's an exciting filmmaker.
He really
I
is.
saw a trailer for that actually.
Oh really? Yeah, I don't think I've seen the trailer yet,
I read something about that.
but it's
Don't mind me.
coming out soon.
Uh,
Osgood Perkins.
but yeah, find The Black Coat's Daughter and watch it. Have you seen it? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of it wasn't a wide release, I don't think.
Where did you see it?
Prime, I think. I watched it. I ended up seeing it. I rented it before it was available,
Yeah,
like in 2016, I think.
because we covered it on a podcast episode, like a movies coming out thing, and I remember I rented it like as
Yeah.
soon as it was available.
Yeah, but I
and-
think it's on Prime right now.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times since then. Now that I'm talking about it, I might watch it tonight.
Yeah,
It's almost Halloween.
I
it
like
is.
Dabble.
Hey.
Blackcoat's Daughter is really good. And it's just a really unique premise. It's a take on possession movies that you definitely don't
Nice.
see all the time. All right, Andy,
Oh golly,
what do you got next?
was Under the Skin in the last 5 years?
How are you?
What if I just automatically am just like, fuck it, I want Under the Skin? No, I don't know. It's weird because
First of all, it shouldn't be on the list, but
Here's
go
what
on.
I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say this next one. Maybe you don't consider it a horror movie. It's a horror hybrid, horror comedy. I'm gonna go with What We Do in the Shadows.
I really like What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, me too. And it was tough for me to choose between that and Only Lovers Left Alive for my vampire movie of that year. That's not really a horror movie. But because if we were just talking about horror movies, I'd be like, well, Under the Skin really has like one of the most horrifying scenes I've ever seen in it. And then Personal Shopper has like the scariest ghost scene I've ever seen in it. But Personal Shopper is a bad movie. And What We Do in the Shadows.
Personal Shopper's not that bad.
What We Do in the Shadows, while not scary, is
See, I've never gotten all the way through What We Do in the Shadows.
really.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
I mean, I guess I can try it again, but it's one of those movies where people are like, dude,
Oh,
you
man.
gotta see it. And
I
when I
love
start
it.
watching it, I'm like, all right,
I love it. I love the show.
okay.
It's
I haven't seen the
this
show
is
yet.
my one ringer. If I have one that wins, it might be this. This is the one not.
Yeah, I could see that. It's like
obscure
putting
one.
Rick and Morty on a best TV shows
Yeah.
list.
Well, people are going to be like, well, it's not horror, it's comedy, so I'm not going to.
Tom, what's your next pick?
I did enjoy What We Do in the Shadows.
Thank you. Thank you.
My next pick, I'll dabble into the comedy a little bit too. Get Out, I thought was pretty great, just because I didn't really know what to expect, and I felt like it had its suspenseful scenes.
Yeah.
The humor in it was never detrimental to the,
Nope.
the creepy, weird, messed up nature of the plot. Everybody in it was really good. It was shot really well. It just was, all in all, it was just a very solid movie overall.
Get Out was fucking
I love
great.
Get
Yeah.
Out. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of those ones that, like, if you were to ask me for my actual top 5, Get Out would be near the top of that
Mhm.
list.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be. It's so influential. Like, it's hard to call it influential because it didn't come out that long ago, but you know
It's already.
going
it's
to.
already.
Yeah.
It is
It's already
already,
like
yeah.
making a mark.
It's
Yeah.
visual style, the performance, like even the scene, the whole kind of the saucer cup thing the mom does when she's hypnotized.
Oh,
Like,
in the sunken
even-
place.
yeah, even that's kind of like the when you think of the moments from that movie, that's already sort of
Yeah.
burned into people's minds.
I will say
feel
this:
like.
the sunken place. I mean, obviously, as a metaphor for like a racial experience is terrifying. But also, I watched that movie and I'm kind of like, that seems comfortable. Like,
Does seem all right.
like I
Just
just
kind
get
of
to,
laying
I
there.
just get to like sink down and watch life like it's a movie.
Yeah.
Give me some popcorn, it'll be fine. But no, I mean, it's awful. It's a terrible. I mean, that's my white privilege talking, 100%.
So say, I think you.
No.
That is me missing the fucking point of the movie.
Oh man.
Hot take.
Yeah, obviously that's a really good pick.
Yeah, the Get Out is
and
fantastic.
it's another movie where there's just a lot of shit happening in like the background that I feel
Yeah.
like you don't see all of that movie till like the third time you see it.
Yeah.
And-
Well, it sort of contrasts with Us in the way that it tells a very simple story
Mhm.
with some very complex moving parts, and is smart enough to leave a lot of it sort of in the background as implication rather than bringing it forward and asking you a bunch of questions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
it
I
can't
did not like
answer.
Us.
Yeah, Us. again, I think it's like 3/4 of a fucking masterpiece, and then
yeah.
it blows it.
I enjoyed it. Didn't think it made any sense
Oh, it
at all.
purely doesn't.
But
No.
but I also feel like it was just meant to be a surreal ride, and I
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah,
know,
and
that's
like-
why it's not on this list for me.
Yeah.
it has things that are like, it's definitely, there's Carpenter, there's Romero, there's Fulci, there's Argento in that movie,
Mhm.
but it doesn't stick the landing for me.
That's a good pick. My next to last pick, my penultimate pick. I'm worried this movie came out like I'm right on the cusp with this being last 5 years, I believe, and I'm worried it came out too long ago for people to still give a shit. But one of, if not my favorite horror movie of the last 5 years, Green Room, which again, arguably not
No, yeah.
really a horror movie.
Well, it's the savage cinema subgenre, you know,
Yeah.
the Last House on the Left, or
Right.
something like this.
Yeah, it's very similar to Last House on the
Yeah.
Left in how it executes being a horror film.
Yeah, and in a way, I mean, it shares a lot of the same space as what we would inarguably consider horror, in that it's a siege movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Very violent siege
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Despite that,
if you consider
very-
Assault on Precinct 13 a horror movie, then this is a horror
Yeah.
movie.
And it's somehow a very pretty movie to look at, even though it's so, like, all the scenes are so dark.
It's all very ugly characters.
Yeah, it's
and-
ugly
yeah.
characters, ugly things are happening to them. They're in mostly
Yeah.
dark rooms, but it still all looks so pretty.
Yeah.
And fucking Patrick Stewart
Yeah, I was gonna say, how'd they get Patrick Stewart
as
to
a
be in this movie?
fucking Nazi
a
leader
Nazi bar owner.
like that.
Yeah.
Like Patrick Stewart being in a movie like this, that's kind of a, like, just seeing him in the cast, you're like, it's probably gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he probably wouldn't do it if it was
Anton
trash.
Yelchin's last film. wasn't
Anton
it? Yeah.
Yelchin's last film.
Well, one of them, because Thoroughbreds
Oh
was
yeah,
actually released after.
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah. And just it's a fucking barn burner of a movie. It does not take long
Yeah.
to get going. The fucking dogs, that
Mhm.
good puppy at the
Yeah.
end.
Mhm.
Even though he's a Nazi puppy, he's still a good puppy. You know?
I just,
I don't know if I'm
I enjoyed that movie, but
I
it
don't know
got
if
to
I'm
a
gonna meet
point.
you there.
It got to a point.
He's
watching
not a
that,
Nazi. His owner is.
where I was like, this whole story could have been easily avoided if you just didn't play at the Nazi club. I was
Yeah.
like, you
Well,
coulda-
I think
They didn't know.
They didn't realize it was a Nazi club.
until they got there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
think
there's-
until they were on stage,
But even
and then
then,
they
I-
played Nazi punks fuck off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There
Which
was
that
kind
was
of-
pretty great.
And
Yeah.
there's kind of a like
Decent cover of it too, and I think it was
Mhm.
them singing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. Maybe, who knows?
But there's kind of a like, how much of this was accidental? There's that question of like, did the person who know that we were gonna, you know what I mean? Did they book us on the show on purpose because it's like a sacrifice? Like, there's
Yeah.
parallels.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really a question I ask myself about the plot of that movie, but there's like a parallel to like, the idea of something like The Wicker Man.
Yeah,
Or even Little Shop of Horrors to a degree, where it's like, are people intentionally feeding people to these monsters? Like,
yeah,
um,
and it's in the way everything is set up. It's a relatively believable scenario.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
there's nothing that far fetched about that movie, but it was just fun. It was just a series of bad decisions led you here. Okay, try to get out now.
Yeah,
yeah,
fucking love Green Room.
yeah, it's great.
Andy, what's your next pick?
Oh shit, man. Am I gonna call an audible, or am I gonna stick with the one I have on that list?
I feel like you.
That one you got's pretty good.
It is.
Is
really
it?
good.
Oh yeah, it's a fun movie.
It is really good, and you know what? It's one gets I think overlooked. I think it's one of those movies that like people talk about it and they're like, "Oh, have you seen this?" And then people are like, "Oh yeah, I saw that," but like. I don't know, like I haven't seen it in forever, and now I'm like, I want to rewatch this because I don't know if I still feel this way about.
There's
this
a lot
movie.
of left turns in Housebound, but I enjoyed it a
Yeah,
lot.
like I kind of want to put in.
It-
House
it-
LLC
it
or
changes to-
Child's Play.
I have to record another
or
one of
Spring.
these.
Okay, yeah, fuck it. We're going with Housebound.
Housebound.
Housebound, honorable
That's a
mention,
fun
Hunt.
movie.
Tell people about Housebound.
Housebound is a New Zealand horror comedy that really balances the horror and comedy in a very
It
in a
does.
very perfect way, the way that movies like Severance or Shaun of the Dead do. Where you're invested in the horror for the same reason you're invested in the comedy, and it's because you're invested in these characters
Yeah.
and the drama that it's relating to you. And it starts out as a is this house haunted movie, complete with a comic relief paranormal investigator character who, oh my god, I just realized another Evil came out in the last 5 years. Another Evil should be on this list. Anyway, sorry, Housebound has a fun comic relief paranormal investigator character and this really relatable different type of final girl than you're used to seeing in slasher movies, but
Yeah.
definitely has a little bit of that edge to her, and becomes something else by the time it ends. And it just
Yeah,
doesn't.
I don't know if I've
also-
ever seen it, but I feel like I need to see it now.
It's funny because it literally like changes the type of movie it is like 3
Yeah,
times.
yeah. And there's another
And
movie
it
that
still
I
somehow all works and
There's
hangs
another
together.
movie from around the same time that people hate on that I kind of want to compare it to, but if I compare it to that movie,
What
anyone
movie?
that's seen that movie will know what this movie becomes. I'll tell you off air. Because I don't want to spoil this.
Okay,
I shouldn't have
okay.
said anything. No, it's The
Just
Boy.
what I
It's The Boy.
was gonna say, what is the R.
The
Kelly
Boy
sex
is
tape
another
or something?
movie that's
Jesus.
like underappreciated that
Okay.
people I think is bad, but is actually good. But Housebound, just fucking see it.
Housebound's pretty
It-
great.
All right, Thomas, what's your last pick?
Last pick, I gotta go with The Witch. Mentioned it earlier where I was like, okay, I took it on, their track record to watch Hereditary. The Witch, I saw this in theaters. My girlfriend Val, who's out there waiting for me, we went and saw this at the theater one day. This was like before we were dating, but we had been housemates at a house, and we both went and saw the movie, and then got back and we're just like went into separate rooms and just had to sit and think about this movie because we were both just like, that was fucked up, that was out there, that was wild.
I thought you were going to end it with, and then we went outside and I asked her, wouldst thou like to live deliciously? And then you two started dating.
No, I'm not that smooth. But
Did you have a
Well, no one is except for Satan.
except for the
Did you have
devil.
a goat asker?
Yeah, I had what was it, Black Phillip? Was that his name?
Yeah, Black
Yeah.
Black Phillip. It was just, it's hard to make a period horror film that is genuinely creepy because when you watch it, nothing like crazy out there, really supernatural.
There's something
happens.
really. This is another thing that I like about this movie, though. Something very fucking gnarly happens, really, to kick off the events of the movie.
Yeah,
like
the
at the
kid just
very beginning
vanishes.
of the movie.
Yeah.
Something really gnarly and
Yeah.
horrifying happens, and it's the hardest thing that the movie does, like gore or scare wise.
Yeah.
Really, is that, and you kind of are like, I'm gonna strap in because holy shit, if it's gonna be that kind of movie, and then it. While it has you strapped in, it's like, all right, now pay attention, and we're gonna move very slowly, and it like completely shifts up on you.
Yeah, it's just, and when it gets to where it's going in the end, when you find I'm not gonna say what happens in case somebody wants to watch it, but it's like when you finally see some shit, it's like, oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's it, and it has the line at the when the Black Phillip is speaking at
Yeah.
the end. Is like one of the creepiest lines in horror films ever. When I don't know how to sign my name, he's just, I'll help you.
Yeah.
Don't, I was like that. Yeah, he's just getting the deal done. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was creepy. It was. Yeah, it's hard to make a period horror film that's that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that really the horror in it, by the end came from a dysfunctional family.
Oh yeah, and like
codependency,
again, like
that's-
Hereditary, it's another movie
Yeah.
about a family just
Yeah.
disintegrating with maybe supernatural stuff happening. We don't know.
It's very much a parents just don't
Mm.
understand coming of age teen girl drama that happens to have
But
Satan in it.
The cool thing though about the first time you watch that movie is because it's played so straight.
Mhm.
It's almost like you're not sure if anything is actually happening or this is because you have to watch it with 17th century eyes, like the
Yeah.
eyes of these people. It's like us watching it, it's like, oh, the baby disappeared, what the hell happened? But to them, it's like when you maybe something is happening, but maybe they're also just superstitious. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's like maybe the baby was taken by a wolf, maybe there actually is a witch in the woods. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good pick.
Yeah, great pick. Good job.
Thank you.
Everybody took mine.
My last pick, I think this is probably my favorite horror movie of the last 5 years. It's the best zombie movie possibly ever, and I'm always really impressed when there's still a good
Yeah.
zombie movie made
Yeah,
I'm not
it's-
gonna lie.
at all.
I watched this movie today while at work to be able to talk about it today. But I did like it a lot.
That movie is Train to Busan,
Yeah.
which is a Korean horror film. It's a zombie movie that takes place on a train. It does one thing that a lot of zombies don't do. It makes you don't want the characters to die.
Mhm.
Like most zombie movies I watch, I'm like, will you eat these motherfuckers
there's-
already?
There's one guy.
Please.
There's one guy on that train you were happy to see get eaten.
There's one guy, but like when
yeah.
I watch The Walking Dead, I'm rooting for those zombies. Like when I still watched it. But Train to Busan, it's also funny in parts.
yeah. It does.
It's got an animated prequel that's pretty
Really?
interesting. Yeah. But again, anytime someone can still make a compelling zombie movie, One Cut of the Dead, another
That I almost put that on my list. but
Korean zombie movie that just
Japanese.
came. Japanese. That's right. Just came out. Fucking great. Like only Asian nations are making good zombie movies anymore.
Little Monsters.
Oh yeah,
Little Monsters
is great.
almost made the list for me.
Little
'cause
Monsters is fucking fantastic.
If
yeah.
no one has watched that, it's on Hulu, and it
Not the Howie Mandel, Fred Savage.
it's no, the one with an Oscar winner.
yeah.
yeah. But Train to Busan, it's another one. I think along with Hush, it's probably the horror movie I talk about the most when they come up. And
Yeah.
if you haven't
It
seen
was
it,
pretty solid.
if you haven't seen it, go watch it. You will. I can't imagine that a person wouldn't like Train to Busan.
That first scene when they not the first scene, but like when they make it to the first station and they get off the train like that build up and that suspense. Was,
Oh, yeah.
That was probably the strongest
yeah.
like part of that movie for me was that train station sequence when they're like, oh, this one's not clear either. Shit.
Yeah.
What I kind of like about where zombie movies have been going the last, I don't know, I guess couple decades, really, in at least in terms of, well, maybe not couple, maybe 15 years, is that in terms of like what kind of movies they are, is that the successful ones aren't trying to reinvent the zombie storyline. They're not trying to reinvent the zombie story. I mean, it's all the
Yeah.
same story. It's that there's zombies and it's the apocalypse. And every really good zombie movie feels like it's just a zoomed in look at a small group of people
Yeah.
all in going through the same zombie apocalypse. It's
Right.
like happening worldwide, and these are all just little bits. It's almost like it's all part of the World War Z
Yeah.
book.
That's why I like The Purge, I think, better as a TV show, because we're never going to get a 1 hour chunk of a Purge movie that's about the people that
Yeah.
clean up the next
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you get that
That's a great
in
idea.
season 2, episode 2 of The Purge is mostly about the aftermath and people
Yeah.
cleaning up and things like that. And it's fucking great.
I like in Train to Busan, I liked how it captured that initial moment of panic, of the outbreak. Like, that's in a zombie film or any kind of disaster movie. That first like inkling of what's happening, is like, and they did it perfectly. Just the idea of all these strangers getting on the train, and then you got like, the whole like high school baseball team, and like
it kind of looks like the Warriors in parts.
Yeah.
Like when that high school baseball team gets
Mention the
involved.
baseball
But just
theories?
that initial panic of like, there's somebody eating somebody
Yeah.
on the train, and you're in a confined space. It was it caught that
Another
moment.
zombie movie that does that scene really well. That it's not the most amazing zombie movie, but World War Z. That scene where
when he's just sitting with his family in the car.
no, the scene where the panic is starting to break out, and the girl drops her doll, and it's that doll that does the countdown, and that's how they show how quick these people go from being dead to zombies, because she drops the doll, and that doll starts doing that countdown, and the camera's on that guy the whole time just laying there. And then when it gets to 1, he just fucking pops up and starts running. Love that shit. World War Z was fine, but that scene, woof.
Yeah, it's not fine. It's a bad movie. I was gonna say that reminds me of another train movie, not zombies, but another monster movie that's set on a train. It's Howl from 2015,
Oh yeah.
the werewolf movie. That is another truly
Or
surprising.
Bradley Cooper's
like,
Midnight Meat Train.
Wait, how?
Just
that-
joking.
Not to be
Fucking terrible movie.
Yeah.
I watched 10 minutes of that
It's
and
so
turned
bad.
it off.
Yeah,
I was
it's not
like,
great.
I'm done.
So we have gone through all our picks. Now it's time to stop being polite and start getting real.
I want to see if anyone in the chat would have voted for Child's Play if I had put that in there.
Okay.
I have not seen the remake.
You should
it's
you
so
should have
good.
put it on
It's
there.
Really?
so good.
All right. Andy, what are you cutting
Man,
first? Hold on, let me make sure they're all
I don't want to be this guy.
displaying.
It's
Damn
like
it.
I'm having a hard time deciding between cutting It Chapter 1 and Gerald's Game, just because I don't think we need 2 Flanagans on there.
It Chapter 1 is not a Flanagan movie.
No. I'm saying-
I
no,
know
no,
what
no.
you meant.
You know what I'm saying. I think it's you know what? Yeah, I gotta go. I can't cut a Flanagan first. But I also know that people are gonna be pissed if I cut It Chapter 1, because a lot of people love that. But I gotta go with my honest opinion, and I would like to see Hereditary stay, so I'm cutting It Chapter 1.
All right. Tom, what do you want to cut?
He's gonna cut one of mine. I know it.
Hold on 1 second. Oh, sorry. Okay.
See, this is the bad thing. There's a couple on here that I haven't seen, so I'd feel bad cutting one that I haven't actually watched yet. Andy, this is not because of It Chapter 1. I'm going to preface this, but I'm going to have to take off Cam.
Oh shit! I
Ooh.
thought you were gonna take off I'm Not a Serial Killer. I was like, oh, my favorite one's getting cut.
No. Like I said, I was one of the ones I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
So somebody else.
That's sad because Cam is so much better than It Chapter 1.
Nah, I don't know.
It is though. I am
That's fine. I'm no hard feelings.
I don't think Cam made any sense, to be honest.
I'm going to cut. It's really good, but no one's fucking seen it. I'm going to cut Terrified.
Oh man,
You know no one has
Yeah.
seen Terrified.
true.
Andy, what are you cutting next?
Am I cutting another one?
Yeah, we each cut 2.
We each cut 2. I forget.
Yeah, I always forget this is your first list cast.
Yeah, I never done this show before. God damn it. Part of me wants to cut what we do in the shadows just to save it from. I'm gonna cut Gerald's Game because we have Flanagan represented with Hush.
That hurts.
I know.
But we no longer have Stephen King represented. How ironic.
Oh, good. Get him out of there. I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Tom, what's your next cut?
This is gonna hurt because I actually do enjoy this movie, but I'm gonna have to cut What We Do in Shadows just because it's the least of the horror comedies
not-
that
yeah.
are still on there.
It's not scary.
Because I also contemplated having to drop Get Out. Just
well,
'cause
I'm
it's not
glad
the
you dropped
scariest one.
this instead of Get Out.
Well, Get Out,
Yeah.
I think
Get Out is
Out-
saved simply
For a
because
lot
it's a
of
great
reasons.
movie.
Yeah.
Little snot came out of my nose
Oh
there.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Saw
great.
that. It's good.
I am gonna cut. Oh, this is a good list now,
It is a tough
Can we
one.
just make this the list forever?
and I feel like I
And
don't.
It's just a top whatever number this is.
I feel like I don't want to cut another one at Andy's, but
Look, man, I've done this before. I know the dance.
yeah, I think I have to. I'm gonna cut Housebound.
Ouch.
Ooh, that stings. I do like that one.
Both of my ones with strong women characters got cut.
Oh yeah, that's why I cut it.
Um,
I thought that was clear.
Interesting.
Hush stayed on.
Yeah, but that was his,
So-
not mine.
we are waiting on the save now. The notorious BLT.
Yeah, Notorious BLT. You get to choose what is.
Ooh, he was telling someone to not be a contrarian.
Oh shit! Is he talking? It's probably me. I'm the one that gets told that most.
Hmm.
Oh, Notorious BLT would have gone with Child's Play if I had said it. Damn it!
The Child's Play remake was fucking great.
Was
yeah,
it?
you know what
It's
else I
so
fucking
good.
forgot to put on here is Happy Death Day.
Oh, that didn't need to be on.
Yeah.
Ugh, you
I actually-
guys.
It
I like-
really didn't need to be.
Yeah,
I
Happy
watched.
Death
I am
Day.
in
I
that-
finally saw it the other day.
I'm in that minority that liked Truth or Dare more than Happy Death Day.
I like no look. I like Truth or Dare too.
Truth or Dare was dope.
It's not good, but I love it. Okay, I knew this was coming. It's chapter
Chapter
one. I
1
knew that was coming.
Oh, that's the one he saved.
Yep.
is saved.
Someone hates women. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
And here's the thing. The poll is already up. So if you're listening, I will I'll put a link. Oh no.
What did you do?
Signing into Patreon is sometimes a absolute fucking nightmare. Oh, thank God. So the poll is up. What? Nope, that's not. What is happening? Did I sign into the wrong one?
Do you have more than one
Jesus.
account?
No,
Is this-
I
We need some more transparency.
well,
here.
I pay money to Danger Van Gorder's Patreon because I'm a supportive friend, and sometimes his posts show up in my feed.
Gotcha.
All right, so we are gonna let the poll stay up for another 3 minutes.
Ooh.
Let's see the early numbers. What do we got? What's winning? Who's in the lead? Okay.
The suspense.
Okay.
Get
Okay.
Is it Get Out? Sure.
Yeah.
Followed by Train to Busan.
Mhm.
That's acceptable. What's some stuff that almost made your list that didn't while we wait for?
Little Monsters.
Man, yeah.
Little
Monsters
I
is
saw that
pretty
the other
great.
night. It's pretty great.
It's pretty great.
I almost put Bone Tomahawk on my list.
I watched that the other night. That movie is completely bonkers.
Yeah.
It is nuts.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't
Kurt
know. If
Russell
I
in
don't
a
know if I'd say if
Western
it's a-
horror.
a good film, but
I thought it was great.
Richard Jenkins. I like Bone Tomahawk. I saw it in the theater.
It's
I
got
was
some
really excited
gruesome
about it. It's got some gruesome shit. There's some stuff in it that's a little bit like, but Richard Jenkins gives an Oscar-worthy
Was he
performance
the
in
old
that
man,
movie. Yeah,
right?
it took me half the movie to realize that was him. Like he's so good in it.
he was pretty good. But it was funny. It actually, you know what it reminded me of? You ever seen the movie Dead Man?
With Jim
Jarmusch,
Depp, yeah, the
or-
Jarmusch, yeah.
it reminded me. It was like a horror version of that movie. It was like
Yeah.
that kind of Western with that sort of deadpan, somewhat ironic kind of dialogue.
Yeah.
But then just hyper violent.
Yeah.
And
Did you see
like The Hills Have Eyes?
Yeah.
Brawl in Cell Block 99?
No.
I did not.
By
The
the
Vince
same-
Vaughn movie?
Yeah.
That movie was fucking dumb.
Oh man,
I don't know where people got
fucking
off
loved it.
recommending that
I
movie.
loved it.
It was trash.
Yeah, but it's like this is the thing I think that filmmaker is doing, and I for the life of me can't remember his name right now. I want to say Jeremy Saulnier, but that's Green Room. He's doing exploitation movies. He's doing like full on exploitation movies through this like indie auteur kind of approach that I find really fascinating. I don't know.
They're bad movies.
I don't. I mean, you like Bone Tomahawk? You did
I like Bone Tomahawk, yeah.
I almost put Haunt on there.
Haunt?
Which, if you haven't,
I have not seen Haunt.
it's the one from this year, 2019. It's most movies that try to be like, what if an extreme haunt attraction was actually killing
like
people? Like, normally-
Hellfest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hellfest.
I wanted to see
Bloodfest,
Hellfest. I never saw it.
Extremity, Houses October Built. Like none of them they're never good. Haunt is good. Haunt is
Yeah.
kind of great.
I think the only argument for not putting it on this particular list is it just came out.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it's-
I feel like I need to see it again.
I've
but,
seen it.
Man, I really dug it.
I rented it when it first came out, and I hadn't really even heard anything about it. It just like it
Mhm.
looked good from the trailer, so I rented it, and then it was on Shudder like 3 days later.
Yeah.
But I just watched it again on Shudder. Haunt is great. All right, we're gonna refresh, and presumably Thomas is gonna win with Get Out. Let's see. Oh, come on. We have fiber internet, and it is hardwired to the computer.
Holy shit! Yeah,
Get
That's
Out.
a clear winner.
Won by a mile
Yeah.
with 27. Is Train to Busan second?
It looks like, yeah.
It sure is.
Train to
Wow.
Busan is second. It follows.
No
is third.
love for Hereditary.
Train to
Killing
Busan is second. It Follows is third. Hush.
No,
or
Green
no,
Room.
Green Room is fourth.
Green Room.
Hush
is fifth.
is fifth. What got 0 votes?
Of course, I am not a
I
serial
am not a
killer.
serial
Of
killer.
course, it got 0 votes. Nobody's seen it.
Was
but
that a show or
see it.
I see? I thought that was a series when I first saw the trailer for it.
No.
Oh,
That's
that's what happens when you smoke weed and watch Netflix.
Congrats.
Thank you.
You won.
Ah,
You
cool.
won.
I wasn't even sure on the rules when we started this, and look at me now.
I actively hate the rules.
Oh, come
I'm
on.
kidding.
All right. This was a fun episode. What do we have to plug before we get out of here? Well, I'm going to put this episode up for free. So patreon.com/unpops. You can still hear Listcast twice a month. If you subscribe on Patreon, just $5 a month. You get so many fucking we do 2 bonus episodes a week.
Mhm.
Minimum.
Nice.
It's nuts.
It is. It's really, truly. I got nothing.
Nothing.
Sorry.
So
sorry.
subscribe on Patreon, help keep us afloat, and follow me on Instagram, Adam Todd Brown, Todd with 1D, and Twitter, I guess. Tom, what do you got to plug?
Just you can go on YouTube to my channel. It's called Riot Scene Pictures, and check out our new short film. It's kind of a horror sci-fi comedy. It's part of my web series, The Midnight Matinee. The new one's called Casual Encounters.
Nice. Andy,
I knew it.
what do you got to plug? Wow.
Podcast Supernova.
Okay. That's happening on the Patreon right now.
Yep.
Kind of hard to rile Travis up to get him in the studio, but we're
Yep.
doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. New Ghoul School episode will be out
Thursday, you said.
Thursday,
The
yeah.
same day as this.
the same day. Oh, okay. So yeah.
Is it- wait.
You didn't get enough of me listening to me talk like I know a thing or two about horror movies. Check out the new episode of Ghoul School today.
Very nice. All right. Let's get the fuck out of here. Andy, say goodbye.
Bye.
Thomas-
Happy Halloween.
Happy
Thomas
Halloween,
Young, say
guys.
goodbye.
Goodbye. Happy Halloween.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you. And live stream, I'll be back at 8 o'clock for another goddamn listcast. If you know what I mean. I'll just be back for